There's controversy brewing in the United States over the media's right to cover the news. The Associated Press says the U.S. Justice Department secretly obtained 2 months of telephone records from reporters and editors at the AP in New York, Hartford, Connecticut, and here in Washington, D.C. In a letter to the Justice Department from the AP's president and CEO, it reads, "There can be no possible justification for such an overbroad collection of the telephone communications of the Associated Press and its reporters. These records potentially reveal communications with confidential sources across all of the news gathering activities undertaken by the AP during a 2-month period, provide a roadmap to the AP's news gathering operations, and disclose information about AP's activities and operations that the government has no conceivable right to know." Joining me now to talk more about this is Kathy Kiely, managing editor of the Sunlight Foundation. Thank you so much for being here and welcome back to the show.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You know, everyone heard about this story this afternoon and wants to know, does the United States have a free press, and does the government have the authority to pull phone records from media organizations and to have actions like this?
Well, it's a very disturbing development, I think, for anyone, not just a member of the press, but also a member of the public, because what this does raise a lot of questions about government authority and an overly intrusive government. The targets here are really not the reporters. The targets are the whistleblowers, the reporters' sources, and there's a very long tradition of whistleblowers, people who are on the inside of government agencies or organizations, actually reining in those organizations and making those organizations more transparent by going to the press. It's kind of like the press is the court of last resort. And what's happened here is that the reporters aren't able to protect those people because the government has gone in and, without asking for any prior permission, without giving the news organizations an opportunity to fight in court, they've gone in secret and pulled these records. And so it's very disturbing. It really ends around not only a free press, but also the role of the judiciary in deciding whether or not this kind of an intrusion is warranted.
How often does this happen? We hear about this with the AP. It's a huge organization. Do you think this happens a lot more than we realize?
Well, you certainly do wonder now, because the Associated Press got a letter after the fact, and as you point out, Elaine, the Associated Press is kind of the gold standard for news gathering here in this country, and a lot of other news organizations rely on the Associated Press. So it really is shocking that the federal government would go after such a well-respected and really a pillar of the news business in this country, and it does make you wonder. It's part of a pattern here, though. We've seen with the Obama administration a real aggressive effort to go after whistleblowers and to take on sources. And what they're saying here is, we're going to use every technological mean to try to ferret out your sources. And that, I think, is disturbing in a country where we have a tradition where whistleblowers have a place to go. And it really threatens the ability of these people who are, in many cases, trying to do the right thing, to be able to do that.
Well, you mentioned Obama because he has been criticized in the past by reporters, especially who cover the White House, about his administration not being transparent enough, not providing enough information. What does this recent incident involving the Associated Press do to that perception?
Well, it makes it worse. What it's saying is that what it really says is, people in government, and it's true, I think, of administrations of all kinds, tend to be control freaks. They like to control the message, they like to control their image, and reporters don't allow them to do that, and whistleblowers certainly undercut that effort. So when you say we're going after these people, it's not necessarily that this administration is different or more aggressive than other administrations, but it has the technological ability now to do things that would have been unthinkable years ago. So you simply can go and ask, and there are two things that have changed. Technology has changed, but also after 9/11, the law has changed. And so the government can go in and, using the excuse of we're trying to protect the country from terrorism, persuade telecommunications officials to give them information that maybe 10, 15 years ago they wouldn't have given up so readily. So I think that those two things combined have given President Obama more ability to try to intrude on the media's ability to report, and it's disturbing.
I'm sure this is not over yet. Kathy
No, it's
Kiely,
not.
we appreciate your time.
You're welcome.